Hey, it's Philip here. You're very welcome to today's Digital Spark. Today I'm wrapping up my digital marketing strategy framework where I'm going to talk and give you some tips around budgeting and measurement. Now, when it comes to budgeting, obviously you want to make sure that you're creating and setting budgets that align with your goals. So review your goals, whether it's leads, whether it's the amount of revenue you want to generate, or even if it's down to website visitors, click-through rate, downloads, whatever the particular goal is, you need to obviously allocate a potential budget for that. Now, certainly you can use your LLM like a ChatGPT to build out potential scenarios by uploading key data, for example, like the cost per acquisition you want to go for, the amount of leads you're trying to generate, and see what it would propose is a good budget to spend. But obviously the most important thing is work with your finance partner to validate all of those assumptions so that you can get to the right answer. Now, obviously, looking at historical data is always proven to be really helpful. Look at past data, past campaigns, return on investment, click-through rate, return on ad spend, and see what happened. Is there any particular kind of analysis data that you can pull to inform your next campaign? And certainly uploading that type of data into a ChatGPT to get it to look at performance, any particular trends, can really work. But I suppose the most important thing at this stage is that you're trying to start to build analysis that can really, I suppose, define how best you're going to approach and set budgets for your next campaign as you move forward. Now, obviously, when you're looking at budgeting, you have a choice of a couple of different budgeting models. Now, one of the traditional ones has always been the percentage of revenue. So you agree either 5, 10, 15% of revenue generated is going to be spent on marketing. So that is one model. You can also base your budget for a campaign based on the objectives and set your budget accordingly. But probably the one that's I would suggest is probably best for 2026 is a flexible model whereby you can either set your budget based on campaign performance and increase as you start to see scale, or potentially if things are not working, you can scale it back. But I think this is probably one where it gives you the most control, because if you see campaigns performing really well, well then maybe it's a point of increasing the budget or really kind of honing on the performance in that real-time effect. So that would be generally what I would recommend. But setting that budget model is very important so that you know exactly how you're going to approach finances and financing your campaign from the very start. Now, also you can do something like a channel scorecard. So where you're utilizing previous campaign data, you can create a simple scorecard based on return on ad spend, CTR, cost per acquisition, whatever you need really as is relevant for your campaign, and allocated a score between 1 and 5. Potentially you can also use the historical data and have ChatGPT to help you with a weighting. But I suppose once again, understanding your model and how you're going to price a campaign to allow you to get the best results is something that is good and important to be clear on at this stage. Now, obviously, as your campaigns are running, you want to be kind of doing weekly analysis and measurement. You want to make sure that your CPA, your ROAS, your conversion rate, even your CTR, landing page views, whatever potential objective and campaign structure and goal you're going after, you want to check that obviously what you have done and how you've set up your campaign, that they're moving in the right direction. If you see positive results across those core metrics, well, that's great. Then you are moving in the right direction. But if not, then you obviously need to take action so that results in the long term don't go sideways and bad. Now, obviously, you can utilize AI as well, like upload these weekly data points and analysis to a ChatGPT and allow it to actually start to review performance. Does it notice any trends, any anomalies, and potential suggestions to improve where maybe improvements are required? Now, once again, it's very important that with your team, with your finance partner, that you are keeping that human in the loop and looking at some of the suggested outputs, because obviously we as humans will have a wider context around the business and the overall goals, the culture, what's required. But I suppose it's once again, it's making sure that you're keeping on top of what's happening with your campaigns. Just don't set and forget. It's very important that you kind of keep looking at what is happening, and if a campaign is not performing or you feel it could be doing better, what tweaks can you make to help push that even further forward? Something also that is really worthwhile doing is what's known as a data hygiene review. So going in and just making sure that all of your UTMs are properly tracking, that your Google tags, if you have Google Tag Manager set up, are they still all firing? Even from, say, some of your ads, make sure that is budget being spent accordingly. Are you notice anything where this drop-offs budget is not being spent? Has an ad suddenly stopped? Is there any errors being triggered? Particularly in your Google ads, are you checking your keywords? How are they performing? Are you finding that there's some keywords now that have stopped performing or are performing fantastically? Is there other keywords you could add in? Are you looking at your negative keywords? So once again, it's not about setting and forgetting your campaigns. It's about going in and kind of optimizing each week, looking what's happening, trying to understand how best your campaigns are performing, how best can you improve them, both from a human perspective and from AI input, so that you can continue to make sure that at the end of the day, when all is said and done, you're spending your budget accordingly, you're measuring effectively to reach those end goals and achieve those objectives. And now you've reached the end of your campaign, everything is over, you now want to do a full review. And obviously you want to start off with, did the campaign achieve the objectives? Did you get the amount of leads you were looking for? Did you get the return on ad spend? If yes, try and understand and drill down into the campaign as to why that was, so that you can bring those learnings to your next campaign. And conversely, if the campaign did not achieve the results, can you drill down and understand why maybe performance didn't meet and achieve the levels you expected? And certainly you can use a ChatGPT to analyze the data based on past campaign that maybe performed really well and this campaign, and see can it spot any anomalies or trends or kind of key things that maybe you need to change for the future. Also, you want to ask questions, well, could we have scaled this campaign from a budget perspective maybe earlier? Did you notice that as you started to increase budget on certain ad campaigns that performance increased? Or did you notice that even though you spent more, really no change happened? Try and understand, well, why that was, because once again, that's great learning for your next campaigns. Like certainly looking at your channel contributions, understanding what channels played what part in achieving the overall objective. Was it the Facebook ads that really drove the awareness? Was it the Google ads that really drove the high-end search intent that got people to your website, but that ultimately then it was either the remarketing campaigns that you did or the email follow-up that really kind of solidified and got that lead. Understand what did what along that chain. Also, finally, you really need to be looking at your creative, like understand what creative, what messaging, was it the video ads versus the image or the text-based ads, was that what worked? And understand what audience really kind of thrived and really responded to your campaigns. Because ultimately with this review, what we're trying to do is not only understand did our kind of campaign really achieve the objectives we set, but you're trying to build intelligence for the next campaign. And this is what it's all about. This is what measuring and allocating proper budgeting is all about. It's always about data gathering and intelligence. You learn from every campaign so that for the next campaign you have an optimized view as to how better to make even more conversions and achieve more results. So I hope you found today's Digital Spark useful. All of the steps for my digital marketing strategy framework are up there on my website, philiptwyford.com, and I will be back very soon with another Digital Spark. So until then, take care.